Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how to look at a settlement statement if you are selling a property and what kind of costs to expect. Hey, once again, it's Robert Greenblatt here. Welcome back. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. So here we go. I brought a real life example here of a recent settlement that I attended, and I'm going to review some of the costs and fees that you can expect when selling a house. I think the brokerage fee is understood. We know that there's going to be a brokerage fee or commissions going to the brokerages which participated in the transaction. So that aside, what else can I expect if I'm a seller? So the way these standard settlement statements are laid out is it starts with the selling price and then it adds any credits. So any money that is owed back to you. So in this particular case, there were some prepaid water and sewer bills which were lienable. When they are lienable, it is handled through the closing process. When it is a private water company, it is handled separately, like often, at least in this area, gas and electric or cable, that kind of thing. So in this case, there were credits going back to the seller for water and sewer. There was a credit for prepaid homeowners association fees. So if you live in a neighborhood that has a homeowners association, cool. So let's say you pay $100 a month, right? And you close on the 20th of the month and you've already paid. Well, the title company will prorate those numbers and you will receive a credit back for those last 10 days of the month, which were prepaid. The other thing on here were property taxes. Property taxes here are paid quarterly, so that's another important thing for us to keep in mind. The title company will again prorate those numbers accordingly. So those were credits coming back in this particular transaction. Now, what are the fees? So we had the selling price, we had a few other things added back into the selling price, and now we have some things that are going to come off. So to give you an idea of what to expect, a lot of them are very small fees. There was an express mail fee that was being charged to the seller for FedExing some documents. That was $20. There was release tracking as part of the process, making sure that the liens on the property, aka mortgage or mortgages in some cases, got released. That's important, right? There was a wire fee for the wires going out to the sellers once their proceeds were done. Like once the sale was consummated, in this case, the seller chose to have a wire transfer done right into their bank account. So if that makes sense, got that. Every title company will have a settlement fee. That's often split equally between both the seller and the buyer. In this case, it was $200 for each party. There is a fee if no attorney is directly involved in the transaction, which is kind of common in this area where I service. There will be a small fee, usually between $100 and $150 for a local attorney to prepare the deed. Title company takes care of arranging that, but it must be prepared by an attorney. Of course, there are the brokerage fees, which we talked about. The most significant fee that we see on settlement statements is what we call transfer tax. And I have an entire video all about transfer tax or exit tax, which a lot of people get scared about. That's somewhere here on their YouTube channel. I'd be happy to speak with you in more detail about it if that applies to you or not. But transfer tax is a sliding scale based on the ultimate sale price of the house. It's a little less than 1%. Typically, there are discounts for seniors or disabled folks. So that is probably the most significant fee that you will see on a settlement statement here. If exit tax is applicable, that's a big number. That's 2% if it's applicable, but that's something for another video. In this case, we had two different mortgages that were getting paid off, a first position and a second position mortgage. And then we had another adjustment for property taxes and a final water reading so some of it was prepaid and then some of it, there had to be a final redone, all normal stuff. And then a notary fee in there for like $30. So I know it's a lot of different stuff and it came at you pretty quick. So what's a good rule of thumb? So what I realized a long time ago is in initial conversations, very early on in a transaction, before we have preliminary settlement statements, what I have found is a good rule of thumb for all this different stuff that we just talked about is, and this is brokerage fees aside and transfer tax, brokerage fees aside and exit tax aside if applicable, is always figure around 1%. Around 1% is a good rule of thumb. It'll give you an idea to cover all these miscellaneous fees that kind of show up through the closing process. It's certainly, from a paperwork standpoint, it's typically a lot easier to sell a house than buy a house. As a seller, if any of you guys watching this have ever sold a house, there's only a handful of documents for you to sign. Very often what we arrange for our clients is we make it seamless. They don't have to come to closing. We arrange to have everything pre-signed, whether they're here near us in New Jersey or if they're anywhere else in the world. We've done virtual signing even in Ghana. So we make it super easy for our seller clients to not be inconvenienced by a closing, because typically the buyer, if they're getting a mortgage, the closing itself could be up to a couple of hours, and it's certainly not necessary for a seller to attend if everything is signed ahead of time. I hope you found this information informative. If you did, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Have an awesome day.